Yeah, at the moment. I think Danny might join us shortly as well. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. What about you?
I'm hiding in San Francisco.
Yeah, I can see. How are you? Are you using any an app or something to make it? Because I can see when you move between your headsets, the kind of the image. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just because I've got some other things behind my head, and I think the rendering facility kind of struggles with um, working out what's me and what isn't. So I think it's just
Yeah.
not very good quality on that.
That means that you're using AI to do
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're using special effects. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, well, this is the thing. I was doing a course just over a week ago on AI. So, I have to practice what I preach.
Yeah. Also happen when you move your hands. It's your right hand. Also,
Oh,
it takes some time until they identify that it's your hand,
yep,
and then your hand disappears and appears.
yep. Yeah.
No VAT payments for companies until January.
I think there's no tax of anything, to be honest. So no VAT, no corporation tax.
No. What's happened? Free open bar
Yeah,
for
that's it.
everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Danny. Good afternoon. Hey, Danny. You're on mute at the moment.
Oh, I am. Yes, so thank you.
There we go. Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Well, it's really good that you organized this one. I thought everything will be on hold for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I figured it's still useful to keep in touch with everybody and just make sure everyone's up to speed. If there's anything, any interesting news or anything we can talk about, that's good. And it just keeps the group going as well, rather than us all just disappearing into hiding.
Yeah, Gary, did you receive any requests for things to talk about?
I didn't. I had a couple of things I'd be happy to talk about. So things like the Bitcoin halving, the sudden price drop, and the fact that Italy is now allowing people to buy Bitcoin directly from the bank. But I don't have anything in particular other than that. Is there particular topics you'd like to discuss?
I've been wondering, just because I'm quite new, I thought maybe, if you have ongoing conversations with the other people in the group, but I mean, when I was following what was happening this week, and I mean, the expectation was with the halving that the price will go up. Now it's dropped, and I was reading again. I'm not very familiar with everything, but the correlation with the fiat currency and the fiat markets. I mean, based on what I have been reading, is that there is a correlation between the crypto and the financial markets. And I mean, again, I'm not sure. I thought it would be not that correlated. Is this something which is expected to not to be correlated after if changes happen? Yeah, but pretty much that's what I was thinking.
Sure. So I sometimes write about the correlation of crypto with other assets. So things like crypto go against gold or currencies or stocks and shares. There is no correlation between them. There is no guarantee that if the stock market is going up, that crypto will go up, or if the stock market's going up, that crypto will go down. They're both totally independent of each other, and they actually have to what's known as the Sharpe ratio, which is the degree of correlation between financial assets and crypto, and there's no correlation whatsoever. So this is why some people actually in the financial services world are trying to get into crypto, because it's actually good to have things that are not correlated with each other. You don't want to just invest in something that when property goes up and gold goes up and shares go up and that kind of thing, you need something with low level correlation. There's no evidence of any correlation whatsoever. And this is the thing where you were talking about the halving before, where where, you know, some people were expecting halving would mean that because that introduces additional scarcity to the supply of the Bitcoin, then the price would go up. Alternatively, other people were saying, well, that's already being priced in already because people know that's going to happen. So what will actually happen is that when the halving begins, the price of crypto will go down because it becomes less attractive for miners to carry on mining it. And so you're going to
Oh, I
see,
see. Okay.
and so you'll actually see fewer miners mining Bitcoin, which further decreases the value of it because there are fewer people taking part in it. So in actual fact, it could go down in price. But either way, if people think it's going to go up or people think it's going to go down, in all probability, that has already been built into the price as it is anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now that explains a lot to me. And I mean, in this situation, are there any projects from the rest of, I mean, because I know with the previous meeting, I think the feedback was mostly that it's the safer ways to invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum, the more established ones. But is there, if one wants to make an investment at that stage,
Yeah.
Is there a project which is worthwhile? I mean, considering like if I open Coinbase and I think the way they're numbered is according to the market cap, I think.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
correct.
is it better to start with the first 10, or is it? I mean, what if one wants to make an investment in this case? What should be considered first? I mean, knowing that, okay, Bitcoin is a very good investment anyway, but if one wants to diversify a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll start off by saying that anything I say is not investment advice.
Okay,
just to cover
sure.
myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But certainly there are people who are saying, oh, there are certain coins that are worth looking at. There are new coins that are coming out. There are over 5,000 coins at the moment. So I'm just trying to remember how I share my screen at the moment, and I'll show you on Coinbase. Sorry, on CoinMarketCap, because there are, you know, as you say, lots and lots of cryptos out there, but they're all just going up and down and all over the place. There's no kind of real guarantee as to any of them will go up or down or anything. The vast majority of them, I suspect, will probably go down over time. It's just that for a while they may well go up, and you just don't know. David, I don't know if you've got any experience of these, of buying other currencies.
I don't, well, what I can, hi Danny, I also new on this, just starting a few months ago. My background is more as a technology, so I'm more in cipher and I understand more the math rather than the business. This is why I joined to the group. Answer to your question, Danny, all this is speculation. You're just putting your money. It's a new technology, and there is no regulation. So basically, you can choose any blockchain that you choose can be good or bad because there is no regulation. It's just in the future how people are going to consider it, and they want to risk on that. So yeah, you can use Ethereum. You can follow some projects that are big. My understanding on this is that the technology is just maturing. It's not mature enough to be used worldwide. So yeah, you can choose any. There is no guarantee that in the future any of the currencies that there are now will exist.
I mean, is the ones okay for me? The way I approached this was my first investment was 2 years ago, and at that time the prices were still very high. So clearly, because I just hodled, my experience was really just losing a lot of the investment I did at the time.
Well,
So
as an experience was good because you can experience the business,
at
but
least, yes.
we're
I mean,
here to make a
yeah.
profit, not to make a loss. So
No, yeah, I did. I made a loss, but for me, it was really, I didn't go with more than I could afford to lose, and I just wanted to gain experience. So in a way, it was experience, and I appreciate it. Um, uh, uh, yeah, I see how it's unpredictable. At the time, I was quite interested at the coins which have any practical application, like at at the stage even. So at the time, I was quite attracted to Dent, just because they were saying that in the 5G it's already being used, and my understanding was that Stellar and XP are also being used, but I'm not actually quite sure. Is this the case? Are the banks really already using these ones? Does it make sense to focus on one or another? I don't know what's Gary David's mean.
I think it really depends why you're looking to invest. If you're looking to invest because you want something that is going to go up in price quickly, then that's just pure gambling. There are no guarantees anywhere there. If you want to invest because you want a diversified portfolio, so within cryptocurrency itself, you want to diversify within it, that's where it's
Yeah,
worth looking at different coins which have got different purposes or operate on different platforms. So you take a look at things like privacy coins like Zcash and Monero, that they've got a very
yeah,
clear goal as to what they are doing, which is different to some of the other cryptocurrencies. If you look at Binance Coin, BNB, that is clearly a coin that is used for within the Binance trading environment. So that's a very specific thing. You look at Ethereum, a lot of the Ethereum type projects are around programmability and smart contracts. So that's different again. So you've got all of these different platforms and all these different coins, which are for different purposes. And so in theory, are uncorrelated to each other. But there is no reason why when Bitcoin goes up in price, that the price of Zcash should change in any way whatsoever. However,
yeah,
it does, but they all seem to be that when Bitcoin goes up, they all go up. When Bitcoin goes down, they all go down.
yeah. That seems to be the case. I mean, that's what I have tried to do. Probably just it was coincidence, but that's pretty much what I did. I tried to find a coin from the different, as you say, applications, and just invest a little bit and see how it works. Because I mean, in my opinion, I think in the future that's how things will be. So in a way, I'm trying to, yeah. Um, but if I want to read a little, I mean, what would be a reliable source if I want to make a kind of a better judgment if I'm deciding from, for example, for the financial coins which are more in the financial base, like Stellar or Raven or XRP. Do I need to go straight to the white paper, or is there a better place to compare which one is?
There are websites that do comparisons. I would be very,
Okay.
I would be very careful of them. However, so
Yeah,
when we were going through the ICO craze of 2017, 2018, there were
yeah,
things like ICO Bench and ICO Rating. I think there were a couple who actually they went through the white papers. They got people to review them. They came up with star ratings and this kind of thing. The problem with that is that a lot of the time, the people doing the ratings were being paid to do the ratings, or the projects were having to pay in order to appear in the ratings. And so that just totally undermines the credibility of them. So there's a company in London called Cointelligence that's run by Anya Vian. I can always recommend taking a look at anything that they write, because Anna's got the absolutely right idea that he's got very good principles, very ethical, and he's trying to keep the whole marketplace clean and away from scams. It's worth reading stuff on their site, and they're building up a
mhm,
good co-intelligence training academy as well, if you want to learn more things. So if you want to learn things about like stable coins or exchanges or
Yeah.
wallets, then they've got some good webinars up on there which are free to access as well.
Oh, okay. And that's coinintelligence.com or?
Yeah, I'll share the link with you in a
Oh,
moment.
okay.
I'll put it into the chat area. But they're definitely worth looking at what they write. That they've got their academy thing as well. So yeah, they're quite good, and that they do a lot of education. So if you want to learn more about the theory behind some of these things, that's really good. And then they start doing things like they look at what are now called IEOs rather than ICOs. They look at those, they look at the exchanges, and they produce some good news stuff as well. So I'll share that in the chat now, and you can take a look at
Okay.
that afterwards. So yeah, let's see if we.
I'm trying to navigate because I've never used a Zoom from the mobile. I usually use it from the laptop. So,
Okay,
but
yeah. How are you
oh
finding
yeah,
it from the mobile?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. It's really good.
Okay.
Um,
There you go. So
okay.
I've just sent that through the chat. If you don't get it, let me know, and I'll
Okay.
share it. I'll share it in the WhatsApp group later as
Yes,
well.
yes, thank you. I saw it. Yes, perfect. Thanks.
No problem. Okay. So the reality is, in terms of looking at coins that might appreciate in value, nobody really knows, and this is why I always say if you're going to put money into these things, make sure it's money you can afford to lose, and it is a
Yeah.
pure gamble. Things may go up, things may go down. I was looking at coin earlier on today on CoinMarketCap, which is called Swipe, which I hadn't heard of before. Swipe, I don't know what's going on with it, but it's gone up 50% today.
Oh,
So there are all these coins that sometimes they rocket up, and it might be that they're getting pumped, or it might be that it's a genuine new launch, or it's something of interest. We really don't know, and this is where you have to be really careful in the crypto market. When you see coins going up in price rapidly, it might be they're going into what's known as a pump and dump, where it's a coordinated
yeah.
exercise by some people to just push the price up to encourage other people like us to then buy into them, and then the price plummets and you get burned. So you have to be very careful about those things.
Well, because I'm not a trader, for me, the approach has been more when I see a project which I find quite interesting, so it's not even really any, well, it needs to be something I can afford. But for example, projects which are around the Internet of Things or artificial intelligence, I found the one with the Singularity Net quite intriguing, and it's just the whole project makes
Mm-hmm.
so much sense.
Is that
So
SingularityNet.ai? Is it
yes,
Singularity? Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think it's Agi is the name of the coin. And I thought, yes, I mean, I would definitely invest into this, but and I've done it, and then I'm thinking, right, but it's as you say, there's so many startups. It's just how can one get more information? Is this just a good investment, or I mean, because the project sounds great, and I can see how the future will develop into these areas, but how do you choose from one project to the compared to another if they're in very similar area?
Yeah, and in fact, I had the challenge with the ICOs when a lot of new coins were coming up because they were ICOs which were being used to fund projects, and
Yeah.
I found it really funny. I would go to events in London with people talking about how you appraise an ICO white paper, and people
Yeah.
were giving their expertise on things that you look at. And then when you speak to them and you say, "Well, how long have you been doing this?" and they say, "Oh, I've been doing this for 3 months now." It's like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
you're a beginner, but you're up on stage pretending to be an expert. And then you do things like they'll say, well, okay, look at the white paper. Is it dealing with a business problem? Has it got a good team? Is it using the right technology? Is it a good idea to use a token? Is it good to use a blockchain? You look at all of these things, and they're all absolutely valid. But then you get things. I went to one event which was actually, it was a group of people doing an ICO evaluation exercise where we'd all been tasked with looking at one white paper, and then a dozen of us sitting in a room to talk about, you know, the white paper and was it a good project. And I can't even remember which industry it was now, that it was going to be in. It might have been like media or something. And I said to the other people in the room, right, to begin with, who has worked in this industry? And none of them had. I said, right, okay, so straight away, we don't actually know if it's a good idea or not. I think it may have been pharmaceuticals, actually. I was like, okay, so none of you have worked in pharmaceuticals before, so none of you know if any of the statements being made in the white paper are valid or not. So, you know, that's kind of questionable. And then you look at the white paper and you go through, and I got invited to work on a project 3 years ago now, where they said, oh, we've got this brilliant idea. We're going to revolutionize the insurance market. Insurance is incredibly inefficient, and we can revolutionize it. We can bring a new way of doing insurance to the masses, and we can bring the costs down. We can save loads of money for the customer, and we can make loads of money ourselves. And they were really geared up, and they were really keen, and they wanted me to fly down to Monte Carlo, I think it was, to do a fundraising thing with a US TV channel and this kind of thing. They're really, really excited. I said, okay, that sounds really interesting. Within the team, how much experience do you have of insurance? And they all said, we haven't got any experience. That's why we're bringing you in. It's like, great. So you've got one person who's got some experience of insurance, which you guys don't know anything about, and it was all guys, and you think you're going to change the marketplace. And they just totally did not have a clue. It was one of the most interesting
Yeah.
days of my life.
Yeah.
Traveling with these people, meeting lawyers, meeting marketing people, and they sounded really convincing. And you realize that they just didn't know what they were doing, but they could have easily have gone off and raised a lot of money. So, you know, my thing is, yeah, sure, read the white paper. If it looks like it's a good idea, if it's something you actually know something about, then that can kind of swing it, because you can say, yeah, these people actually know what they're talking about. And then, is it a good team? Is it viable? Is it using good technology? And then toss a coin, because it's still random as to whether it's going to work or not. You know, you can have a great
Yeah.
team, a great idea. If it's done at the wrong time, it's not going to work. You can have a lousy team, great idea at the right time, it'll work. You just don't know. Does
Oh,
that
okay.
does that
Oh,
does that
that's
help?
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very helpful. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now I didn't even think about that. I kind of
Then,
assume that everybody who
yeah,
goes into this has the whole team well formed and everything. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
then there is
Okay.
the technical bit that, as I said,
I,
that's the knowledge and how to do it. And then as a coding, the team of developers you need to sustain that has to be massive. And we're talking it's money, so it has to be really safe. And you see most of the projects that are selling, and it's three guys. If you want, the three of us, we can start kind of blockchain and advertising. So Gary is going to provide the white paper and all the knowledge. I can provide the coding and the platform, and you can start selling it. And it will look as good as the other ones, because we can just copy and paste what we found out there and start advertising.
Yeah.
And just need people to buy it, because we don't need raw material. So as long as you have a computer, we set up the frame and we start selling it. So yeah, you can sell as many bits as you want, and that's it.
In fact, David's absolutely right. I had another project I was looking at, and I looked at this white paper, and it was in the insurance industry, which is my sweet spot. So I understand a little bit about insurance. And I read this white paper, and I thought, these people do not understand insurance. You know, they've got no real experience on the commercial side of the market. They're coming up with ideas that I just can't see how it will work. But I was interested in it because I realized, all because I don't understand it doesn't mean it won't work. But it was obviously they just didn't know anything about the insurance market. And I thought, well, maybe they've got the technology, they're really, really good. And then I met up with somebody who was a crypto investor, and he's quite a significant investor. And I remember this experience where we both happened to bump into each other in a lift. We'd both been to a meeting, and just as the lift doors were about to shut, this guy said to me, "Oh, what do you think about such and such a project? You know, looks really, really interesting." And I said, "Yeah," I said, they haven't got a clue about insurance, but it looks like they're really good on the technology side. You're the technology expert. What do you think?" And he went, "Oh, um, well, we think they're really weak on the technology, and we presume they were good on the insurance." And at that point, the lift doors closed, as he said, and we've just invested in them. So
Oh, okay.
now for them, it worked out, because at the time,
Yeah.
they did a classic ICO where the price of the coin went up. They exited with a load of money, and since then, 3 years later, there's no product, no customers, no market, and they're pretty much winding the project down, and they've moved on to something else. No surprise. So there's no guarantees in any of this.
Creating the framework to start creating the chain, the blockchains, and all these things is very simple. As a basic thing, I can create it in code. I can create it in a couple of hours. With that, another thing is all the hardening and security. And yeah, because nobody's regulating it, there is no baseline. You can sell anything as long as somebody is happy to put the money on your product. That's it.
Yep. So there you go.
So
The lesson is, Danny, nobody knows.
Yeah, as we're saying, you are using, like, if it was a new product and investing in equities or anything, and it's a new thing, there is no regulation. So it's not mature enough. If you go for big projects, Ethereum, and there is a big project and they're putting a lot of money to mature the technology. Having said that, doesn't mean that Bitcoin at the it was split, and they get Bitcoin, what's the other, Cash. Yep. At the beginning, it was the same. And some point across the line, they decided that they wanted to take it different path, and they split it because they wanted to give different solutions.
Yeah.
So it can happen in the future that they decide, well, we want a different way. So Bitcoin can split in other things, and at some point, only one of these difference will gain. My guess is only when a big companies back it up and they decide it's Libra with Facebook. If Facebook decide that they want to use now Libra, is the one who's going to win. Yep. So if you don't have big companies, because as I said, from the technology point of view, the amount of people or the resources or the muscle that you need to support that is really big. So it's not a bunch of guys in a garage just typing code, and they can make something that works and make a website, but come on, they have to fight against guys in China and Russia that they have teams of people just to crack it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just conscious of the time. I had scheduled this just for 30 minutes because I thought it'd be useful just to get everyone together. So I'm going to have to drop off the call fairly shortly. But I hope it was worth doing. I'll try and set this up a more regular thing. I'll also see if there are other times that are better. I figured we'd just do this at roughly the same time that we do the physical catch-up anyway. But I'll see if there is a better time for everybody to get together, because I think these are really useful, because they're great to just have these discussions of what's going on, and people can all learn from that. So hopefully you found it of interest and of use.
Oh, thank you. Yes, for me it's very interesting. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to close the meeting off and wish both a good weekend.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye
you,
now.
Gary.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
David.